Hey, oh my goodness, look how bright everything is right now. Let's fix that up. How's everybody doing today? You guys all in a good mood? Everybody happy? Everybody good? All right, you better be, because we're gonna be having some fun here. Holy cow! Let's get that tone down. Turn off the heat lamp on me here. Holy cow! Holy, yeesh. That's a little bit better, right? Right? Hopefully, it's a little bit better. Well, welcome everyone. It is Robert. It is today is the 31st of August already, and we are talking today. This class here is going to be all about actually command and the opportunity details. This afternoon, we're going to be talking about DocuSign. We're going to squeeze a little bit of DocuSign in here this morning, but we're going to be talking about the details and all of the stuff that goes into an opportunity so that your DocuSign room comes out sparkly clean and really cool and looking awesome, which is what we want, right? We want it all to be very, very good. So let's take a look now at what we're going to be kind of going over today. So I will start off by, let's try this little guy right here. And that's exactly what I want to see. All right. I'm going to go ahead and make this a little bit smaller to make it a little bit bigger. Does that make any sense whatsoever? Okay, here we go. All right, so what we're looking at here is, of course, we're going to be going into command, and we're going to be doing this entire class from within command, which is what you want to do, right? Right? That's what you want to do. So we'll do this little thing here. Get myself a little bit smaller in the room so that it doesn't look so goofy. There we go. All right. So let's log into command and start talking about the process of creating opportunities and then managing the details of those opportunities in preparation for a smooth transition to our DocuSign room. All right. So here we are on our homepage in command. And the first thing that we're going to do, of course, when we're doing anything with an opportunity is what? We're going to be going to contacts. That's correct. So whenever we are talking about an opportunity, let's be clear here. I've done a couple of classes in the past where I've talked about the difference between managing a single opportunity, managing an opportunity versus managing all of your opportunities as a business. All right. So managing all of your opportunities that you have in your pipeline. So when you are talking about managing or creating or dealing with a single opportunity, we always start at the contact level, even if the opportunity doesn't exist yet. So the first thing we'll do is head on over to contacts. So in the contacts area, as you probably are aware, and if you're not, here's the general rule. You cannot create an opportunity. You cannot create an opportunity if you do not already have a contact in your database. So we must have a contact in the database in order to create an opportunity. So if you don't have the contact who is going to be the specific contact or the primary contact for this transaction you're about to begin, you have to add them. Remember, you can add the contact by clicking up here in the upper right-hand corner where it says Add Contact, and you can fill out the contact information on this Add to Contacts dialog here. When you're completed, you can go ahead and click Create. Now, I've got a bunch of contacts. I've got about 1,000 contacts, almost 1,000 contacts in here. And so I use a contact over and over here for my little demo because I've got a real email in here for my pseudo contact that takes me through the entire transaction. So I've opened up my contact. For those of you who didn't catch what I just did, on the contact page or the contact applet in command, I searched for Jackie Astudo here. So I searched for this contact and I opened up the contact, what we call the contact card for this particular contact. Now, you're thinking to yourself, Robert, I thought we were talking about opportunities today. I thought we were going to be talking about DocuSign. We are. We are right now talking about it because all of the information within the contact is part of the information that will be used in the opportunities for the details about this contact. And going forward into the DocuSign room, This information will be how we contact or how we get to the person for signatures. So it is incredibly important that we have not only as much information about our contact as possible, but we have correct information so that we don't have to update or modify this later. So for example, let's say today's the day when you've decided that the conversation has turned from just talking and you need to get this contact started into an opportunity with a brokerage relationship form and some of the other required forms as you begin the transaction, okay? So you come to this contact card, and the first thing you check is to make sure that you have the correct email and phone number. So right here on the contact card, I've got a phone number for this contact, and I've got an email for this contact. Excellent. That means that I can make phone calls and send emails to this contact and not worry about bounce around or bounce back. This email and, of course, the phone number are two pieces of information that are going to transfer to the details of the opportunity and therefore transfer over to the details of the DocuSign room. This is where it all begins. So starting here, looking at that, yes, we've got a phone number. Yes, we've got an email. Let's go down a little bit further here. We see that and from a marketing perspective, yes, we have some neighborhoods here, but that's not tied to the opportunity as much as it is tied to the contact and the opportunities to market to that contact. However, coming down a little bit further here, we have the additional contact information. And the additional contact information includes the preferred contact method set as email. And all of this, by the way, is editable. If I go back up to the top here, by this little pencil icon at the top for edit. So all of the information that I'm showing you right here can be edited in this contact. Now, we have a secondary phone number if necessary. So we have a phone number slot here for a second phone number. We have their home address. Now, if this is a listing and this is actually the home address for where they're going to be listing, then this information will, again, be part of the entire package. We also have a mailing address. Now, if this mailing address is different from the home address, this is where we can send information via mail. We also have the legal name for this contact. So if we needed to know if their legal name was different from their using the name that they use all the time, you can put that information in here. And again, it's part of what makes this contact record complete. Down a little bit further here, we do have a description. We have a birthday. Again, that's part of the marketing. Home anniversary, again, part of the marketing. However, in the relationships, which I personally think this is a little bit too low down the totem pole of important information, we have that here where it says the relationship. Right now, it's set at John Morgan. John Morgan is designated as Jackie Assuto's partner, and that's important because we can specify the relationship of these people, of the individuals that we're looking at, okay? So with that knowledge, something to keep in mind is we can have up to 5 different relationships, all right, for this contact. And if the John Morgan in this case, who is listed as partner, if John Morgan is going to be the co-buyer, co-seller, and is going to be required to sign or interact somehow with documentation, we can relate them here at the contact level so that when we create the opportunity, we can specify that these two people are going to be working together to finish out this opportunity. However, if there is a second person, in this case, John Morgan as a partner, and if that person is going to appear on any of the contract data or anything in DocuSign, you will need to open up this contact, John Morgan, right here. And you will need to make sure the exact same things that we're talking about with the original contact, Jackie Assuto, are completed here so that we can contact John via email, via phone number. We also, if necessary, have additional information, home address, mailing address. You see, mine's a little bit sparse here. And that directly is going to tie into how much information is going to be transferred about this contact to the DocuSign room. I can't stress this enough. If there are multiple parties who are going to be involved in the DocuSign process, the information about them needs to be correct and complete in command before you begin the transaction, even if it's in this case for the primary person, Jackie Astuto. So I'll go back one page here to Jackie's contact card. And at a minimum, at least we have the relationship here. I would definitely fill out more information about this related contact so that when it's time to get the signatures, we can make sure that we do in fact see all of the information that we need. All right. And if you're joining me live on Facebook or if you're joining me live on YouTube, I am watching the comments. So feel free to put some comments in there if you have any questions, and I will be answering them for you. We are live right now. This is not pre-recorded. And how do I know we're live? Because I'm right here. No, just kidding. So yeah, because I'm here. So if you have any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat. And I appreciate that. Whoever just gave me a little bubble there. That was nice. All right. So with that being said, all of the contact information on the left side of the contact page here needs to be filled out. I know that you may not have all of it, but as much as you have, please put that information in there. Now that we've done that, that's step one. The contact exists, and in this case, the related contact exists, and we have gathered as much information as we can about them. Now that we have that, we can say, okay, Jackie is going to be the primary person for this contract, this opportunity. So Jackie is where we start, and on the card here over on the right-hand side in all of the different transactions and timelines and everything that we have here is the Opportunities tab. Do not confuse that with over here, and I'll go ahead and open up the menu. Don't confuse that with the Opportunities applet or the Opportunities area of the program. That's for managing all of your opportunities as the pipeline, as your business. This is where we manage the opportunity for this individual contact. So I'll go to the Opportunities area. Now you can see I've got 35 different opportunities that I've created for this one contact. They buy and sell a lot because I do a lot of classes. And this is, this is not unrealistic if you're working with somebody who maybe is an investor. You could eventually, who knows, have 35, 40, 50. You could have a whole bunch of opportunities in here. And listen to this. If that's the case, then now I know that by going to the contact alone, I can look at the history of all of the opportunities. And if I have named them correctly by the dates that they've been added to the system, their current stage and phase and commission, at a glance, I'm able to look at the history of this contact and all of the opportunities without having to do filters and sorts and all that kind of stuff inside the opportunities area. This is fantastic. All that transaction information. But now it's time to create a new one. So to create a new opportunity for this contact, we go to the Opportunities tab right here, and we click on Create Opportunity in teal. Now, if you have not seen this dialog box before, then that means you haven't created an opportunity. And that's interesting because I want to pause here for a moment, and I want to talk about why we're here as opposed to in DocuSign. So I wish I had a little bit of a graphic here, and this is something I'm going to have to work on to show you guys to really express how important this is that we do this in this order. All right. I mentioned this morning on the Quick Start when I was talking with Tim that I've been getting a lot of phone calls lately, and they're all to do with one specific issue. Robert, I'm seeing the word sample on my wire fraud and the word sample on my disclosure, I think the brokerage form. When I create a room in DocuSign and I bring those documents into my room, why am I seeing those words sample? I didn't see them before. That's never happened to me before. The reason that that's happening is because the room that you've created for DocuSign is not connected to command in the beginning. You cannot create a room in DocuSign and connect it to command from DocuSign. It has to be the other way around. You have to create the opportunity in command and then create the room from the opportunity And then all of the information from the contact, from the opportunity, from the details transfers to the room. And now there's no issue of who is this contact? What are they doing in DocuSign? What is this? DocuSign will know that you have a transaction that you're working on, and you will not see those sample documents pop up that way. So one more time in 10 seconds. You do not create the DocuSign room first. You create the contacting command. Then you click on the create opportunity dialog. Complete as much information there as possible. Then you're going to go to the opportunity itself and create the DocuSign room. That connection is a guarantee that you're going to have a perfect mesh of data that goes from command to DocuSign and back and will not cause you any headaches or glitches. I promise you that. Okay. Now, here is our create opportunity dialog. In our create opportunity dialog, we have at the top here at the market center. If you are only part of one market center, then you will only see the market center that you're involved with. If you are an agent at multiple market centers, you will in fact see a drop down here allowing you to choose the market center where you want to generate this opportunity. If you're a member of a team, you will see the opportunity to, well, the option, I guess, instead of the word opportunity. You'll see the team name here. Now, depending on the state of your team, what I mean by this is it's a little bit advanced for this 101 class, but if you're a member of a team and the team has told you that all of the opportunities that you create as a team member will be a part of the team, then by default, you're going to see the team name in that team dialog. If you are not a member of a team, you're going to see nothing here, and that's okay. If you are a member of a team and you have the option to create an opportunity as an individual agent or as a team agent, you can swap those out. We're not going to go down that rabbit hole today. There's some discussions to be had about teams and rainmakers and all that stuff. But that's what that dialog box is for, is to select the team or not. The opportunity type here, when we drop that down, you're going to be given 4 different opportunity types: listing, buyer, landlord, and tenant. All transactions at this market center fall within those 4 different categories there. When you choose an opportunity type, if we continue this dialog and we actually complete this dialog and click on create, after you've done that, you cannot modify the type for the opportunity. If you say, oops, I created a listing type by accident, let me go change that, it doesn't work that way. So you will have to archive the incorrect opportunity and then recreate an opportunity as the correct listing type or the correct opportunity type. So make sure you check that out. The default is always listing. It is at the top of the list. So anytime you come in here, it's always going to default to listing. Pay close attention to that so that you know what you're looking at. If you need to change it to buyer, do so. I'm going to leave mine here at listing. So over here on the right-hand side where it says owner right now, the owner of this opportunity is you as the agent, especially if you're a solo agent. However, if you are a member of a team, it is very likely that when the team name is selected here, the owner of the opportunity is actually the rainmaker, and you may see a different name here. Now, depending again on the conditions of the team, you might be able to change that. But right now, the default is that I have no team, so the owner is defaulting to me as an individual agent. So those 4 things up here, once they are put in place and we create the opportunity, they can't be changed, which means, once again, if there's a mistake on these 4 boxes at the top, you will have to recreate a new opportunity and then archive this one and just kind of get rid of it. Okay, so those are the 4 top boxes here. We have a client box. This is auto-populated. Why is this auto-populated with Jackie Astuto, who is in fact the primary contact for this opportunity? Because we created the opportunity from the contact, it populates with the client as the contact as the client. If I had created this opportunity from the opportunities tab I'm sorry, the opportunities applet in command and not gone through the contact first, then I would be forced to select a client name. Now, this is something where you don't want to have to do this because it's very possible, in fact, likely, that you're going to have some people with the same names in your system. And if that is the case, when you're using the opportunity dialog box outside of a contact, you could actually pull the wrong person in there by accident. So going to the right contact, verifying who it is, and loading this up here will guarantee you've got the right opportunity for the right contact. All right, as I mentioned a little bit ago here, we talked about the co-seller information, which is our related contacts. Because we created the opportunity from the contact, we now see the related contacts for this client, and that is John Morgan. Now, I'm going to go ahead and bring John Morgan in here, and you can see that it puts him in the co-seller slot. So you guys, guess what? Right now, in DocuSign, when I create the room, it's going to load up the information for who is the seller 1 and who is seller 2 for this opportunity. I do not have to add that information later. I will not have to do anything. It will automatically populate across because I'm doing it right here in the very beginning. In the opportunity name, our Market Center does require you to put the name of the listing address. I'm sorry, let me try that again in English. Not English, whatever it is. Our Market Center requires you to add the address to the name of the opportunity if it is a listing. So right here where we've chosen listing, if it is a listing, we need the number, the street address, and the street address of the opportunity's listing. Now, this is so that the compliance officers can quickly locate this opportunity when they're trying to work with it on the compliance end for submissions and all that. It also keeps you organized. I'm going to be honest with you here a little bit though. This is not the only place where you should add the name or the address of a listing. And that's because when we get a little bit further in here, you're going to see that we can actually bring the listing in from the MLS. And we want to make sure that we have that information not only in the name, but in the address fields for the listing itself. Now you're saying, well, okay, what if it's a buyer, Robert? What if I come down here and I decide, well, it's going to be a buyer? Well, if it's a buyer, you may not have the address yet. And that's okay. It's kind of expected. So you're starting your search. When you choose that and you have it as a buyer here, just go ahead and maybe put a neighborhood that they're potentially looking in. Again, it doesn't have to be exact. But once you do settle on an address, I strongly encourage you to come back in here and place in the address of the property to be bought. Okay, so down here we have a section for custom tags. And the custom tags is good for you to help you organize the opportunity, but it is not directly related to the DocuSign room. So I'm going to skip that for a moment. Next up here is the estimated close date, estimated listing price, opportunity phase, opportunity stage, and the commission rate. Notice that the commission rate is required, the opportunity stage is required, and the opportunity phase is required. These other two are not required right now, and in fact, they may not be something that you have to be able to fill out, and that's okay. But if you do have this information is again synchronized to DocuSign. So if you have the information, put it in here. So the estimated close date. Let's say the estimated close date for this one here, we're already at the end of August. Let's say that we're going to close on this one. Let's say 90 days. Let's say so. Let's go with we'll go with November 30th. Okay. So I have an estimated close date of the 30th of November for a 90-day window. That's generally speaking. And now I can also put in here an estimated list price. And again, it does not have to be exact right now because what we're looking for is estimated. So feel free to fill that in as an estimated value, and then you'll have that for you as you go through the DocuSign process. Okay, next up is commission rate. It is required. You can go ahead and put your commission rate that you will be receiving in this dialog box here. And again, you're not going to get out of this form without putting that in there, so you want to put that information in. Now, if you are the kind of person who is managing your pipeline as a whole, you can specify the phase and the stage within that phase where this particular opportunity falls. Now, this particular thing is going to default to cultivate and watch, which is basically the entry level stage and phase and stage for any opportunity. So that's the entry level. That's the base level of I have an opportunity, I'm going to cultivate it and keep an eye on it. Now, if you've gone further, if you look at that and you say, okay, you know what, I'm actually a little bit further along here. As a matter of fact, I went ahead and I'm now past cultivate, and I set an appointment and I scheduled that appointment. You can actually put that information in here to move the opportunity into the correct phase and stage for managing all of your opportunities. And this will also contribute, once again, to the values in the proposed, or is it not proposed, potential and probable incomes in your pipeline. Okay, so now that we have all the information here, I'm going to go ahead and click on create. Now that's it for all of the basic information for the opportunity. Oops, look at this. I forgot to put in the street address for where this opportunity is going to be as a listing. No problem, Robert. I'm going to go ahead and click on this opportunity, which is my brand new opportunity created on August 31st. I'm going to go ahead and click on this opportunity to take me to the details page, and we can make some fine tuning and adjustments. So I'll click on that opportunity. All right, so here we are on the details page of this opportunity. And this is what we're going to spend a few moments on, because there's actually a lot going on in here that will, again, be very important in the DocuSign room. Starting with the top of the screen. Let's go ahead and work our way down through here. Jackie Asciutto is the name of the opportunity, and it is a listing. Now, you cannot edit the name here, but you can see down here that the opportunity name is listed, and we could edit this by clicking the pencil icon for the details area. So yes, we can edit the name of our opportunity by editing it right here. But that name will then populate up here, and we'll see the corrected name. Again, remember that compliance is going to see this name as well. So they're going to need to know information in the name about this particular opportunity. All right, so we have down below the name of the opportunity. We have the name of the primary. And when we click on that name, it shows us the primary phone, the primary email, and gives us the opportunity to jump back to the contacts area, specifically that contact. The same thing applies here for John Morgan. When I click on John Morgan, primary phone and primary email are shown here. This is a good way to run a check for yourself to make sure that going forward into the DocuSign process, I have the contact information and it is correct, so that I don't have to update it or worry about it being wrong on multiple documents. Okay, so the last thing at the top of the screen here is the select from listings. Now I want to talk about this for a moment, because when we look at this button, what you need to say to yourself is select from the MLS listings. All right. This will pull the MLS ID. If a piece of property has been listed multiple times in the MLS, okay? If it has been listed multiple times, you will see that property listed multiple times, because they have different MLS ID numbers. So you have to be careful when you're choosing this to make sure you're picking the MLS ID that refers to the property that you are working with for this transaction, okay? That is so important. Now, what happens if, for example, maybe this is a new construction, right? Maybe this thing has not ever been in the MLS before. You're not going to find it in here because it does not have an MLS ID, unless you've already built the MLS and it does in fact have that MLS ID even as a new construction, in which case there's only going to be one of them because it's the first time it's gone up for sale. So read this as being select from MLS listings. If it's not in the MLS, you're not going to see it here. So how do I add the address to my details page if the home itself, if the property address is not in the MLS yet? You need it, right? You need it for the transaction, but it's not there. So you're kind of like cart before the horse. No problem. Down here in the property section, this is a way for you to identify the property by geolocation, maps. So if you have a piece of property that is not in the MLS, you can come down here and you can click the Edit Property button and you can search for the property by address. And when you do so, this is not going to be looking at the MLS. This is nothing to do with the MLS. This is just a property. Okay. So I'm not going to click on that now, because I'm going to kind of finish out some. Actually, I'll do it here. I'll show you because it might make a little bit more sense here. So here is the property address via search. Notice that there's no MLS information here. It just doesn't exist. I'm just using it as a property search. So I'll click Save. Here is that address in my property area, and look up top. It's now in the slot where the listing goes, but we know for a fact that the address that I pulled is not part of a listing. If I click on this now, you can see that there's nothing about this except for property. And it says 7 Autumn Lane, Nottingham, with no pictures, nothing, because it's not the MLS that it's looking at. It's just the address. I can then click on Edit here. And if the property then, after a couple of days, maybe a couple of whatever the time it needs to be, the MLS is added in the system, then I can search for that property. I'll do with, I don't have any listings, so I'll search with all listings, and I'll search Nottingham. All right, so I will search for that property. And here I am in 7 Autumn Lane. So now this one here has an MLS ID number. So I can swap out the generic property by selecting this and replacing that now with a proper MLS. And you can see now that I have a picture here, which, by the way, I've done a ton of clearing off of this thing. My house doesn't even look remotely the same anymore. It's got a front yard, it's got a lawn. The house is actually visible from the street. Anyways, that's enough of that. So now this is an MLS listing, and this is also part of the MLS listing as well. Recap. You can add an address to the opportunity, even if it's not an MLS, by adding it here. And then after you've got an MLS, or if you have an MLS in the beginning, you can click up here and add it as the MLS ID. All right. Very, very, very important stuff, right? I thought so. All right, let me go and make one quick adjustment here while I'm talking to you. I want to make sure that I can see any comments by people that are on the YouTube channel. So let me go ahead and I haven't checked that yet. Let's make sure that we've okay, I will mute that. Okay, good. So I've got both the Facebook and the YouTube comments up. Hey, if you're live out there, say hi to me in the comments. All right, so here we are, again, with the MLS information up top and the property information down here. Now, as we move down through here, I mentioned that now that we have an address, you know, we kind of knew we were heading to it because we have a listing, I can edit the name of the opportunity. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the little pencil icon here. And so the name of this opportunity is going to be a listing, and it's going to be 7 Autumn Lane. Okay. I don't need the full address here, but I definitely want more information. But oh my gosh, look, there's more information here. There's more information that I can edit about this Details tab. I wonder how much of this information is important in the details that are going to be transferred to DocuSign for me to fill out or pre-fill here. Well, since we now see we have a time frame here, let's say the time frame is going to be right now. They're doing it. The estimated close date, we had that from when we created the opportunity. I did say that I was scheduling an appointment. Now, let's go ahead and put that appointment date in here. So let's say the appointment date is going to be, I scheduled the appointment. I'll say that I scheduled it yesterday. Okay. So I scheduled the appointment yesterday, and the appointment date is for tomorrow. So I'm going tomorrow to meet with them. So I scheduled it yesterday, and there's the appointment date. This all has to do with reporting in your command interface as well. So when you're talking about looking at your reports and how you're doing with your business and your goals, meeting appointments, scheduling appointments, making those appointments at the table. This information feeds backwards into those reports so that you actually see data that really reflects what is happening in your business. So I have my appointment date is for tomorrow, so I'm not going to go ahead and put in agreement 1 here, and I'm not going to put in a contract date, and of course I'm not going to put in a close date. But remember, this information is going to be good for your reporting. The closed date will be required when you submit for commissions, but we don't have it right now, so that's okay. We have an estimated close date, but we don't have the actual close date. All right, so this information is all of the details that are available inside the opportunity itself. A little bit more down here to match up with the listing price. We said it was going to be $500. That was our estimated. It looks like it's going to end up about $550. So we'll go ahead and put that in there. So it went up a little bit. Good. So we'll hit save. And now that information has been updated. So if I scroll down here now, I've got the phase, stage, contract name, co-seller, time frame, estimated close date, appointment scheduled, and the appointment date. And when I get further down here, I will add the appointment, the agreement 1, the contract date, close date, and I have all this other information. Much of this information is going to be also transferred over to the details tab in DocuSign, which means less typing for you later. So now that we have all that, we're looking at, by the way, some of you might be looking at this going, hey, Robert, you have something interesting over here on the right-hand side. You've got this Porch Repair Estimate Report. This is actually a third-party plugin that you can get from the Keller Williams Market Center to have a repair estimates written up so that in the buying, selling process, you can actually kind of inform your clients about what needs to be done and what those repairs might cost. It's actually a really cool tool. It's a free plugin, not part of this class, but I just wanted to mention that for you, that it was something that was recently added, and I've had a chance to play around with it. It's actually kind of cool. It generates a really nice report for your clients to show what repairs would be recommended or required. Okay. So now that we have all this information in here, again, we have such great detail here. I want you to notice something. On this detail tab right now, there's some missing information. Well, let me rephrase that. There's missing notifications that are not telling you what information on this screen has been synced with DocuSign yet. We have not created the DocuSign room. And because we haven't created the room, the system is not trying to synchronize with anything yet. After the room is created, the initial synchronization will tell you what information was moved over to DocuSign. I'm going to tease you with that because we're going to work on the next phase of this, which is getting that DocuSign room created. So I'll go ahead and click on the Documents tab here. And in the Documents tab, we're going to take the next step of creating the complete opportunity here. All right. So for those of you who have not been on the Documents tab before, the Documents tab is where you're going to do all of the document submission to the Market Center for compliance and for review. So in order to do that from the Documents area here of this opportunity, we need to create a checklist. The checklist is going to consist of all of the required documents, conditional documents, and optional documents that may be needed for this transaction. On the left-hand side, we can see there is a drop-down for pick checklist type. It's a little black drop-down there. In this drop-down, because our Market Center has determined that if you're going to do an opportunity here at the Market Center, you can choose between New Hampshire listing, Maine listing, Massachusetts listing commercial, New Hampshire, and New Hampshire new construction. Now keep in mind, this is also based on your licensing. So I'm only licensed, although I'm not really, in New Hampshire. So I don't have any other states. If you are licensed in other states, you will see checklists for those states. All right. So what we need to understand is that you can only use one checklist per transaction, the opportunity. The reason why you're saying that, Robert? Dual agency. If you are acting as a dual agent, you will need to create two opportunities, one for the buy side and one for the sell side. And that's where you can see here that it's not even physically possible for me to choose a buying checklist. If I was a dual agent here, this is a listing opportunity. I can't put the buy side in here because there's no option to do that here. So one checklist per opportunity. So I'll choose the New Hampshire listing checklist. So here are the three that, technically I'm not licensed in these, but none of them. So you can see the New Hampshire, Maine, or Mass. So I'll choose the New Hampshire listing checklist. And on the checklist, when it pops up, it looks a little bit confusing at first. I'll admit you got a lot going on here that just got entered and just kind of showed up in your face here. But what's happening is on the left-hand side, the checklist that you've loaded, the New Hampshire listing checklist, consists of three main sections. There's a listed section, an under contract section, and a closed section. So in the listed, which is highlighted, this is going to show you all of the documents that are necessary, conditional, or optional for this type of a transaction. So if I click on the requirement field here, it's going to say, all right, buy right out of the gate, Robert. You got to have a current deed for a listing. You got to have a brokerage relationship form, and you've got to have an exclusive listing agreement, designated agency, and some of the other ones here. They're all marked in red for you. So you know that you're going to need these documents at a minimum to complete this transaction and submit to the Market Center. While we're here, let's kind of jump ahead just a little bit, and we'll come back and we'll talk about it further in a moment. You do not have to wait until all of the documents that are necessary for each of these sections are completed and added to submit to the Market Center for compliance. In fact, if you did that, it would be a lot for them to take on their shoulders in one day. It's advisable to go ahead and submit a few documents here and here and build this up, and you'll also have more time if something needs to be reviewed or revisited. So let's say it takes you 2 weeks. I'm just going to throw that out there as a random number. Let's say it takes you 2 weeks to get all these documents signed. If you signed the first document on day one but weren't submitting it, and in 2 weeks you found out that there was something wrong with it, you've wasted 2 weeks. So don't wait until all the documents are ready to go to submit them to the Market Center. Submit them as you go. So you will find out sooner rather than later if they are approved or rejected and need updates or fixes. So each of these little sections is listed, and then we'll go to the under contract now. You can see that there's different documents that are required for under contract: purchase and sales, escrow check, disclosure. And in the closed area, for once the opportunity is closed, you'll of course need your settlement statement, your deed, all these different things here. So as you move through the transaction, you'll be adding these documents and making sure that you have them available. The big, giant question in the room: where are these documents? They're not here. This is a viewer, like for example, you see here it says the brokerage relationship disclosure form. This is not the document you fill out, nor is it the document that you filled out. This is a sample document. It doesn't have the word sample on it. This is just giving you an example of what this document looks like. And here it is. In this way, you can actually make sure that you understand what document needs to be uploaded in this slot, so you can tell by looking at it. Okay, so it's the one with all the green borders, New Hampshire Real Estate Commission. So that document on this right-hand side, when I upload it by add a file, needs to look like that one, but signed. So this is the add a file position for that example file. So you'll want to know that if you question what a document looks like, you can always click on it. If there is no link, click. See how I've got my hand over it here, or my mouse over it, it turns into a hand, whereas the current deed is not clickable. The current deed, there's no sample for that. You're just going to have to get that document and upload it into the system to see what that document looks like. So there's nothing to compare it to. Every deed looks a little bit different. Well, not everyone, but so you get the idea. You can upload the deed into this slot. Now, trust me, if you put the wrong file in here and it's not a deed, compliance is going to look at that and go, they needed to put the current deed. What they gave me was not the current deed, and they'll tell you. All right, so these documents, again, are not the actual documents. These are sample documents to show you, in some cases, what those documents need to look like. Where do you get the real documents? That's where DocuSign comes in. So we did everything here to get to this button. So we did all of this work so that when we click that Start a Transaction button, the DocuSign room is going to be created with all of the details, all of the contact information, all of the MLS information, everything. You want me to prove it to you? Check it out. Over here, I'm going to click on Start a Transaction. If your system has both DocuSign and .loop installed in it, you will see a drop-down allowing you to choose which which signing tool you're going to use. If you have only created a link between one of these, then you will only see that one. We focus on DocuSign here. This is the preferred recommended tool for KW. So I will not be doing anything in .loop as a training, but however, if you have any questions on .loop, feel free to reach out to me. But we will be focusing entirely on DocuSign. So now the Start a Transaction button, when I click this, I want to make a mental kind of like a little run through in my head. Is everything here? Have I added all the details? Have I added all of the checklists? Have I got everything? Have I got the listing in here? Have I got the phone numbers? Have I got everything that I need? Yes? Click DocuSign. And it's going to create a DocuSign room. If you have not logged in that day, this is the first time I'm logging in this morning. So it's asking me who I am. And I'll go ahead and use my login and password. If you've been in and out of DocuSign all day on the same machine, it's just going to go straight to this screen. And this screen is the DocuSign's rooms screen, specifically the room for this transaction. Okay? So in this room and in the documents area, this is ready and connected to Command for you to start loading in documents in DocuSign, getting them signed, and then moving them back to Command as signed documents. But let's take a look at something here. In this room, which is, by the way, the name here, Jackie Astuto, listing 7 Autumn Lane, New Hampshire. Look familiar? Yes, it's the same name that we gave our opportunity in Command. So now we know we have a direct relationship. So this is, in fact, the same name. Next up here is we have the closing of 11:30. Oh, look at that. Expected closing is in there. The address is in there. All of that stuff is in here. That is because we filled out the details completely. The Details tab of this room is going to show us everything that we added that is relevant to this room. So, for example, the name of the opportunity, the side of the opportunity, list side by side. So it's a list side, created by Keller Williams Coastal Lakes and Mountains Realty. What that means is that you are now under the KW umbrella for Market Center 463, and your documents are all verified that you are creating them and using them as the KW agent. This is why you're seeing sample on some documents, is because if you created this room outside of Command, this will show as created by you, and it will not be under the umbrella of KW. I know this may sound a little bit kind of like a lot to take in, but basically comes down to this. Every agent who has created a DocuSign room outside of Command is running the risk of seeing and having problems with their room because it does not fall under the umbrella of KW's Coastal Lakes and Mountains. We need this to be all associated. It's very important that this be done in this order: contact, opportunity, checklist, and then into DocuSign. That needs to be done that way. All right, so the rest of this, look at this. There is the MLS ID, and we have all of this stuff here. We've got the address, the postal code, all this stuff in here, listing details, current amount, all this stuff. All of it is popping in from, you guessed it, the listing and the details, and also from you in the Keller Williams white pages, and I'll talk about that in a moment here. There are some fields that do not transfer over. Well, we do have an expected closing date, but we don't have inspection contingencies, loan. We don't have any of that because that's not information that was added when we built up the document or the details tab in Command. You can edit any of this information by clicking edit here, and then all those fields become editable. So that is great. You can modify or add the information if you did not have it originally. So that is fully editable, and it will have that available to you. Now let's move over to the right-hand side here. Seller number 1, Jackie Astuto. So now we have the information from Jackie pulled in from Command. There's that email address. We'll come down here to seller number 2, John Morgan. Look at that. There's the phone number and the email. We have our seller number 2 information. We know who they are, and we know what role they play in this transaction. Think about that. It's like a play, you know, if you ever did a play in high school. All right, so Jackie Astuto, she's playing the part of seller number 1. Yay, Jackie. Seller number 1, the role was written by, I'm getting a little too far down that rabbit hole. The role of seller number 1 is being played by Jackie Astuto, which means when we go to sign this document or any document that needs someone to sign in the spot for seller number 1, we know who the person is who has been assigned the role of seller number 1. Think about that for a moment. What I'm saying is DocuSign knows who is what in the contract, who plays what role. And if we use the pre-tagged roles when we're completing envelopes, DocuSign will know who is going to be the seller, who is the co-seller, who is the buyer, who's the co-buyer, who's the agent, who's the second agent. All of that information. Outstanding. We'll come back at 2 o'clock this afternoon, and we're going to talk about the DocuSign process. And you'll notice that I'm not opening up any documents right now. I'm not adding any documents. All I wanted you to get to in this morning class is to understand that everything that we've done in Command transfers over here to the details in the DocuSign room, so that when we start adding documents, the documents will also pull in the information from the details area of DocuSign and pre-populate, pre-fill, and prepare you to fill out quickly, rapidly, and get those documents out for signature. Last little thing before we go here. So we're in DocuSign. If I come back to Command now, and I'm in the documents area, you see how that create a transaction now says go to transaction? DocuSign and Command are connected through the conduit. And if I come back to the details tab now, look at this. DocuSign synchronized this page with details to this room in DocuSign on the 31st of August. All fields are synced with DocuSign, which means the address has been synced. And you come down a little bit further here, the contact, the co-seller, the estimated closing date, the close date, which is blank, is synchronized even though it's empty right now. All of the synchronized information is now guaranteed to be updated in DocuSign, making it incredibly easy for you to now complete the documents in DocuSign, get them signed, and bring them back with as little hassle as possible. Now, I've spent an hour talking about how the process of building the opportunity in Command, completing the details of that opportunity, and then just simply creating the DocuSign room in DocuSign itself, creating that link. The power of that little flow right there, you can do this in about 5 minutes. Really, it comes down to less than 5 minutes. I would say that if I was doing a legit deal here, to do what I just did with the contacts, the details, and the synchronization, not even 5 minutes. And what I get out of that by doing it right the first time is that I get no mistakes. I get a far more accurate instance inside of DocuSign for everything that I'm going to do, for everything that's going to populate. So I'll leave you with this. I'm going to add a document to the DocuSign room, and I'm going to add a form. And I'm going to say that this form is the property and we'll see if we can find the property disclosure form. So I'll come down here, property disclosure form. So that's multi-lease land residential. Okay, so let's see the property disclosure form. Many of you I've had conversations with where you said, Robert, my God, I try to fill out this property disclosure form, and every time I go to do it, there's none of the boxes are on it. It's a complete disaster. It took me 2 hours to add the boxes and the check marks. Watch this. Now, I haven't done anything, by the way. No special magic here. I created the opportunity in Command, right? I created all the details in Command. I created the room in DocuSign from Command. And here is adding very, very quickly, very simply, no wizardry. I added the property disclosure form. I click on the property disclosure form and I look at this and I see the property information, when it loads up here, is going to be in there. The property information is all ready to go. The people that need to sign this are going to be all added when I put them in an envelope. So you're thinking to yourself, oh, this is exactly what I was talking about. I can't fill any of this out.
You're not supposed to. It's the client that fills this out.
If that's the case, you can't edit it here. But watch this. I'm going to save and close this. All the document information is there from the Details tab. I'm going to right click, create an envelope, right? Put it in an envelope here. I'll come down to the recipients. We're going to go over this all at 2 o'clock a little slower. So I'm just kind of giving you a little bonus here. Seller 1, Seller 2, and that's it. That's all I need here. Seller 1 and Seller 2. I'll come over to the right. Seller 1, Jackie Astuto, you are now playing the role of Seller 1 for the property disclosure form. Step on down, John Morgan, you are now playing the role of Seller number 2 in the property disclosure form, which means that now that I have defined who is doing what in this document, check it out. On the next page, the system is automatically going to load up all of the places where seller number 1 needs to fill out and complete. And there's all those boxes, all the check boxes, all the slots, and it all references seller number 1 because that's the primary on this account. If I switch over here to show John Morgan, you'll see that John Morgan is required as an initials here. This is the co-buyer, right? Or the co-seller, I'm sorry. Here's the initials. And I come down and keep looking, initials. So John doesn't have a lot to do because he's in the position of co, but he does need to sign it and date it. All of this stuff is ready to go because of what we did in Command and setting up the DocuSign room. None of this happened because of DocuSign, you guys. This all happened because of what we did in Command. That's how good this is, okay? With that information, this afternoon, everything that I just did in the last 5 minutes, we're going to expand on this. We're going to start talking about, I'll go ahead and get out of this room, not out of the room, out of the envelope there, and we'll go back to the documents area. We're going to be spending time talking about the documents area and the proper flow of working the DocuSign room to make the process of getting signatures extremely easy. I'm even going to throw you a bonus for any of your clients that do not want to sign electronically, whether it be something where they don't have the technology to do it, or they're not interested, they want to actually do something with you. I'm going to show you how to do what's called sign in person or in-person signing. And what that means is you can drive up to someone's house with your laptop, click a couple of buttons, turn the laptop around and put it in front of them, and it will receive the information from them as a legal signature process. So they'll be able to do it right in front of you, still electronically, without having to print any papers and scan anything and have bad images and all that. It'll be a digital signature, but we call it in-person signing. I'm going to add that so that we can talk about it at 2 o'clock. 2 o'clock, right here. Don't forget, we're going to be there. I'm going to go ahead and show you here the contact screen for getting in touch with me. If you want to get email, it's robert.vincent@kwclm. If you want to book time on my calendar, it is timewithrobert.com. The Zoom room, when we meet, if we have a scheduled time together from you booking on Time with Robert, that room is always KW Tech TV. If you're going to watch any of the live YouTube streams, or if you want to watch any of the pre-recorded videos, including this one, which will be available in about 5 minutes on YouTube. It's live on YouTube right now, but when it's completed, it's going to convert and it's going to be available for you to watch. So if you missed any part of this class or any of the other classes, you can go to kwtechtube.com and you can watch them. It's a lot easier to get to that information there on KW TechTube than it is to try and find it in the Facebook stream. Facebook, however, we do stream live, as you may, some of you are on Facebook right now, and that is facebook.com/groups/KWCLM. Okay, so that's where we're at right now. I hope you guys got some good information here. If you have any questions for me, of course, like I said, you can reach out to robert.vincent@KWCLM, and I will see you at 2 o'clock. And at 2 o'clock, we're going to be going over more DocuSign in much more detail. So we'll see you then.